So here's a little story about something that I went through. I was at one job and I was really trying to prepare for another one. And while this was happening, the job that I was at, they had already been kind of treating me somewhat poorly. I'm sure you guys have been through that. And for no other reason than office politics. But that's okay, it happens. Now, I had to get to a point where I had to put aside, sometimes the feel of things and really look at things logically. And the job that I was at, I had seen other people just leave. One guy left mid shift. It was that kind of thing. So this isn't just like my thinking like it's all one way or it's just my way. Like I'm telling you, like there were people that were leaving, people that were driven out, and a lot of people speaking to it, but nobody would act upon it. So I'm on that. I'm at that point. You're getting these phantom disciplinary actions, things like that, and it gets to a point where you either have to kind of quit or you have to stay and see if one day you just get your walking papers. And each situation is going to be different, but you have to look at these things logically, not emotionally. And what I mean by that is emotionally, it would be easy to charge out of the building, telling everybody to, stick it, things like that. But emotionally, doesn't always get you far, and you might be driving down the street. And honestly, you can feel a lot better. And I'm not saying if you have gotten to a breaking point to stay just because, we should think it through first. If you've gotten to that point, you've probably already exhausted a lot of logic if you've circled back to emotion and that's what you acted on. And you know what? It happens. And I'd rather somebody just walk out than come back in and do harm to other people and themselves, possibly. So we don't want to see that. But in my case, I've had to measure the situation logically. And I've done this in other jobs where I was leaving, even on good terms. You measure it logically. Is this the job that I should leave? Can I afford to leave it? Is it time to leave? What are my particular circumstances? But in this instance, it's been time to go. I'm looking at this clock. I'm thinking, okay, there's a point in time where I think I'm a dead man walking, and I don't want to get to that point because getting released from a job, it's not the end of the world, but it can affect where you end up in your next job because now your prospective employer can call your former employer, say, are they eligible for rehire? And they could say no based off of the fact that they terminated you. So in a lot of cases, what the second question, from what I understand, can be, was it voluntary or involuntary? It's probably better that you left voluntarily on your own terms. And that's what one of the other people that I work with did. She left on her terms. And it was unfortunate because these are good workers. But get all that to say, measure your steps and think it through. And sometimes you have to play the game. And playing the game can mean a variety of things in a variety of ways, but play it in a way that you're going to be ethical to yourself, first and foremost. It's not illegal, and it gives you the best opportunity to land on your feet. Because here's the truth. Companies are going to move on and march on without you. These million, sometimes billion-dollar industries will replace you before you've already been replaced. They already have a stack of resumes or a bunch of email resumes, things like that. So you have to really advocate for yourself first. And when I say advocate for yourself, we're talking about your health, your emotional health, your mental health, your psychological health. It will play on your physical health. And sometimes it's not worth it all just to uphold your financial health. So when we look at these things, yes, good paying job, it's close by, or it's got wonderful benefits, or they give us bonuses. Like all of these things can be great reasons to stay. But if that job haunts you when you're home, If you can't wait to get out, if you dread going in, is it worth it? Is it really worth it? Because we've seen other people go through this, and this is where logically somebody might say, "Yeah, it's worth it. I got mouths to feed. I got bills to pay." And I won't argue that point because each person has their own way. But I would just remind somebody that you get one health. You may have multiple jobs, and that job is not guaranteed. The job is not guaranteed. They can lay people off at will. They may tank in the stock market. So you are not guaranteed anything as far as that job. There's nothing that says it's going to stay forever, or something may happen to you where you're no longer able to perform it or have to step away to care for other people. There's other reasons that you may not end up being there, not other than just you leaving. So point being is that you get one health, and you don't want to wreck it trying to serve two masters. And you're not even serving two, you're just serving one outside of yourself. You should really be your first advocate, because honestly, you are your only advocate when it comes to this. So I've spoken to this before. If you need that stress day off, sick days don't have to just mean I have the flu, or I had COVID, or I have a stomach flu. It can mean that you have reached levels in your mind, in your body, that it is aching, it is stressing, it is causing you not to eat, not to sleep. Those are reasons to take days off. And I got pushed back once before years ago for saying this, and somebody said, "This is the worst advice you've ever given," because they said it's going to create more work for your coworkers. Well, your coworkers evenly also get sick days as well. And your coworkers, I would hope, would understand. But it's not your responsibility to necessarily worry about what your coworkers are going to think about you needing a day off. If you need that day off, heck, even if you want to go fishing, if you want to go shopping, whatever it is, if that's your day to unwind and get away from the rigors of whatever it is that you need to get away from, then take it. Because I'm sure these same coworkers, managers, whoever, who might, wrinkle their nose at, oh, he took a day off. I'm sure it's way better. Go ask some of these people who have survived incidents where somebody came back and tried to instill violence on the entire place. And I'm sure a lot of the time it was they snapped. They snap. They don't just enjoy committing random acts of violence like that, but they reached a point where they snapped, and they didn't feel like maybe they could take the time off. Maybe they didn't have the time off. They just felt backed into a corner. And if you back something into a corner long enough, it may come out in a way that is very unexpected and not how they would have normally act. So this is why I say keep these levels. Think logically. And if you know that this is not what is working for you, today it's not working for you, long term it's not working for you, really sit down and assess that. And if you have a close group of people that you trust, and I would say outside of your job, then talk to them about it. See what their thoughts are. Maybe there's something that you're not seeing from an outside perspective. Maybe they've been there. One of my good friends is an HR personnel. And so I've gotten a lot of good advice when it comes to that. But you have to advocate for yourself, because these jobs will let you work yourself literally till you drop, and then there is somebody else that can replace you. They may value you for being a steady employee or a steady person, what have you, but at some point, then it's time to leave. I'm being very specific when I'm talking about workplace, because that's just the story that I was sharing, that this happened in the workplace. But you can apply this to your personal, intimate relationships. You can apply this to poison friendships where it doesn't feel like, this is really that thing for you anymore. Relationships with family members. And I will back it all up by saying, if at all you can work it out, by all means try. Even if you don't stay at a job or in a relationship or anything else, leave knowing that you gave your best. Even in leaving, leave knowing that you gave your best. Sometimes you can be exhausted and you just got to drag yourself away from it. But don't leave with a burned bridge, or don't leave even, with just the sentiment that, wow, at some point I could never at least return or say hi to somebody if I saw them on the street. It can be tough, but think it through. Really apply your logic where you can. Emotion absolutely has a place in the human experience, and that's for men, women, adults, children, whatever, you name it. Everybody should have that. But there's a lot of times where it might lead us a little bit of a stray, and we might be thinking with emotions and seeing things that aren't quite really that, but we might be so frazzled from everything else that's why you got to take that time to step back from something. If you're overworking yourself, really take the notion that yes, you want the promotion, you got to meet that deadline, things like that, but at the end of the day, the world will keep turning. And even if it keeps turning and you're not at that job, or something happens to where you have to move on from it, the world will keep turning. So do what's best in your interest. Be a good employee, be a good student, be a good neighbor, a good spouse, good parent, whatever, family member. But you do have to really kind of advocate for yourself first. And those who really, really care about you will understand that anyways and support you in that. And those who don't, hopefully they'll get to a point where they understand that for themselves as well. So I don't know. This was just a thought. I didn't really have like a quotable moment. It's just one of these things as a reminder. I think a lot of times we need to have that reminder that you really got to advocate for yourself first. And in these difficult times, yes, financially, we want to make sure that we're secure, but not to the detriment of putting yourself in a position where, yeah, financially you're sound, but psychologically you are absolutely bankrupt, or emotionally. We don't want to get to that point, even physically. We see where stress will do a lot of damage to the body. And it's one of those silent things that erode our quality of life and longevity. So don't do that to yourself, because who knows? You might win the lottery one day or find out you have a rich uncle, and you want to at least be able to be happy when you receive such funds. And even if you don't, still, you will live a happier life when it's a little simpler and you can think things through rather than just always reacting rather than responding. So I think that's all I got. Subscriptions to the channel are free, and I would love to know what you guys think on this topic. What's your ace up the sleeve, your advice, comment, experience? And as always, I hope this finds everybody in your place, pursuit, or beginnings of total health, mind, body, and soul. Peace, love, unity, solidarity, and as always, subscriptions and videos. So stick around.